see you guys in the dark.
This happened about 2 or 3 years ago. My uncle had cancer and wasn't doing too well. He had gotten his leg amputated 2 years prior to the event of the story and had been improving since then. But all of a sudden, he took a turn for the worst. We were visiting him, and honestly, he gives the same sort of vibe as Jeff Goldblum. Fancy, but like in an elegant way that wasn't obnoxious. He was an older man in his mid-50s or so, and both of his sons no longer lived at home. He lived with my aunt. That night, my parents and I had ice cream while he drank wine, and we talked about our various things that I don't really remember. He asked me to sit on his lap, as I was his favorite niece. I felt bad for him and obliged, and I could feel how weak and bony he was getting. Later that night, I was reading a book when my father came downstairs and told me they were taking my Uncle Tim to the hospital. He had gotten really bad fast, and so he was headed to the ER. I was left in the house alone as they went out. I actually liked being alone and didn't mind at first, but as the night dragged on, I began to get this mysterious feeling of anxiety. I decided to go upstairs from the basement and lay against the heated floor in the living room as it soothed me. From the living room, there was a sliding glass door with a view of the backyard. In fact, anyone in the backyard could see right in the living room. I was playing this rhythm game on my 3DS, so I had my earbuds in when I suddenly felt the anxiety return. This time it was much worse, to the point where I called my dad to ask when he was coming home. He didn't pick up, so I texted him. When I looked up, I saw something odd in the backyard, despite it being very late in the night. It seemed like a man, but I couldn't be sure with such limited lighting. Either way, I froze and nearly pissed myself before running upstairs. Being 14 or 15, I was well aware of what dangers befell girls late at night alone. I ran upstairs and considered calling the police, but I didn't want to attract any extra attention when my uncle deserved a quiet end. I knew he wasn't going to get through this at all. Instead, I decided to peek through the shades from one of my bedroom windows. A man walked into the dim light by the porch, looking right into the glass door. I was about 5 seconds away from passing out due to the fright. He was a tall sort of fellow with dark clothes. I'm pretty sure it was summer, since I remember noticing how odd it was that he was wearing a thick scarf. However, I couldn't see his face or anything detailed about him. I began to call my father again, but the call wasn't going through. He was at the hospital, and in certain places I assume they don't have cellular. I figured maybe it was a gardener. My uncle was wealthy after all, and it wouldn't have surprised me that he hired someone. I know it's stupid to think that looking back now, but I really didn't want to be a nuisance when my uncle was dying. The moment the man circled around to the front of the house, I ran down the stairs and headed to the basement. The stairs downstairs to the first floor were on the other side of the house, but the stairs to the basement were in the kitchen in plain view of the patio glass door. I was so scared that I locked myself in cramped space under the stairs. It was a sort of small space with a hole in the wall where a film projector was. It could play movies on the screen downstairs, and you went into the cupboard underneath the stairs to use the projector. I had enough room, even with the old toys thrown in there once my cousins had gotten too old. I suddenly froze when I heard the patio door slide open. It was quiet, and the entire house was silent. It could have been my family, but why would they use the back door? I just knew that it was the man from out back, and I immediately started breathing quickly. I could hear footsteps upstairs, and things move around. At one point, he was right above me, his feet echoing on the stairs. It was dark in the basement, though, and thankfully the door was rather nondescript. After a few minutes, he went back upstairs. I think he was in the house for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, though it felt like hours when I was in there. Once I heard the door slide shut, I waited another 5 minutes or so until my ADHD couldn't take it any longer, and I went upstairs. The man was gone, and the house was mostly intact. There were a few things missing or out of place, however. A few hours later, at around 3 a.m., my father came back and asked why the house was like this. I said it was my fault, and he chewed me out for being a nuisance when my uncle was in critical condition. I never told anyone until now what really happened, since I just didn't feel comfortable sharing before now. And at the time I remained silent, as I didn't want to put any more on my aunt's plate. Even thinking about it now, it's pants-shitting terrifying. Oddly enough, the house burned down a month or two after my uncle passed. I think it was a lit stove or something, but I don't remember the details. My aunt survived, as she wasn't home, but she's been moving house to house since then. I really feel bad for her having to come out of retirement. Sometimes I wonder if that man came back and left the stove on, but I don't like to entertain that thought whatsoever. This story happened when I was about 12 years old. I'm a female and 25 years old. The story that I'm about to tell you, it might not be scary to most, but for me and my parents, it was. I owned one dog at the time. His name is Benny. My parents decided that night they would feel like they were going for a walk around the block, walking Benny, and asked me whether I wanted to join them or not. I said no, because I wanted to play PWI on my PC. My parents were okay with leaving me alone since the walk wouldn't take them longer than 30 minutes tops. As my parents would get dressed to leave the house, I logged into PWI, looked around in my guild and global chat to see if anyone was on. For some reason, no one was, so I decided to join my parents. I get dressed, I put Benny on his leash, and we all leave. I'd like to mention that I lived in an apartment building that had 10 floors, and we lived on the very first floor. Basically, you enter the building and already are facing apartments. I lived in the very first one. I remember always hating that because whoever could pass by our door, we could hear them at any time of the day or night. Whoever was lurking at night, we would hear them. It was somewhat eerie to live on floor 0. Anyway, we leave the house. My dad closes the door. We had 3 keyholes and a steel bar that would lock the door from the inside. Precautions were my father's obsession. We exit the building and enjoy our walk. After 15 minutes, we realize the wind has changed from summer wind to incoming storm wind. My mom makes the call to go back home as Benny already did all his duties, so we all return. We open the building door, climb the 5 stairs to our door, and attempt to open it. And my father does the following: unlocks the first 3 locks, and then attempts to unlock the metal bar that holds the door locked. At that moment, my father pauses, turns around at us with the most serious face I've ever seen on him, and whispers to us to call the police and ring the neighbor's door. My mom goes to the second apartment, and the neighbor comes out asking my father what happened. My dad whispered to him, covering the see-through hole of the door, "Someone is in our house. He or they are holding the door. Please stay with my family and attempt to open it. I will be back." After saying that, I see my father rush, all by himself, around the building, in the dark. I say dark because we didn't have a street light on the side of our apartment facing the block garden. My dad disappears into the darkness. I go outside too, not following him too much, but only to hear if he's in trouble. As soon as I get out, I hear him shout, "Hey, you, come back! Who the hell do you think you are? I called the police!" At the same time, I hear him shout. I look at Ted, who manages to open the door and enter the house. I go after them and enter my house. It no longer felt like my house. In just 15 minutes while we were walking, the home invaders made a complete mess of our house. All of our shelves and wardrobes were pulled out. Our clothes were scattered all over the house. Benny's dry food was all over the floor, indicating they must have tripped in his bowls, probably not knowing we owned a dog. But what scared me the most was how organized they were. I say that because after seeing the disaster that was left behind, we knew it was impossible for just one person to hold the door, steal, and organize what they wanted to take with them. I say organized because the thieves put in our living room, all packed and ready, what they wanted. On the couch they placed our laptops, one of our TVs, my father's collection of coins, our phones, chargers, wallets, and even my father's camera. They didn't have enough time to steal all of that, so they just settled with some of my mom's jewelry and some pocket money. After seeing this, in my silly child mind, I rushed to my room to check my piggy bank. When I enter my room, I see the metal bars covering my windows are cut open and my window is broken. This is how they entered, through my room. My room is the only room facing the side of the building, and the most secluded from views. Needless to say, I never felt safe in my own room in which I had to live for the next 10 years of my life until I moved in with my fiancée. The police arrives. They start throwing white dust all over our house to find fingerprints. They take pictures, take our statements, analyze my room and window. They were unable to catch the home invaders, but were able to tell us that this invasion was not the only one in our neighborhood. During that month, another 4 houses were broken into, one of them being the home of a cop. They told us that the invaders analyzed their victims, learned their schedule, even knew where the children's room were, as they seemed to be entering the houses through the children's windows. They did not expect us to be back that soon and panicked. The person after which my dad was shouting was probably the one holding the door and escaping last through the broken window. I don't know what could have happened if I didn't change my mind and give up a rating for gears and PWI. I would probably have come face to face with these invaders. I am happy I didn't, and I hope to God that I never ever meet with them. When I was 12, my family was at a dinner in one of their friends' house. I didn't come with them because I was sick and didn't want to bother people with my problems. I didn't know what time it was, but it was around 10 p.m. I was reading a comic in my bedroom when I heard my parents' bedroom window open, so I thought it was the wind until I heard it close. So I went to my parents' bedroom thinking my parents were back home and realized nobody was here, and the window was locked. I wasn't realizing something was going on at that moment, and verified all windows upstairs. They were all locked, so I went downstairs and did the same. It was only at this moment I got scared and directly went to the kitchen to bring a knife and hid myself in a room ready to defend myself from anyone. I was there for 15 minutes when I heard some noises upstairs of someone walking. I was paralyzed by the scare and was thinking of a way to leave the house as fast as possible. I couldn't take the room that I was in without making a sound, so I thought about running as fast as possible from the room to the entry door. I finally abandoned this idea in case somebody waited for the man in front of the house. I was looking from the room's door mid-open to see if there was somebody in the kitchen, and then I saw them. They wore masks with the holes for eyes and mouth where all were in black. Then I heard a car parking in the garden. Then one of the men in the house smiled at me before running away from the back door. I immediately left my hiding spot and ran to the back door to lock it. When my parents went home, I told them about what I saw, and they laughed at me not trusting me and trying to reassure me. I really hated the way they didn't trust me. So by now, when I'm home alone, I always take a knife and lock all doors to my house. So this happened last night. I live alone in an apartment in a not very good part of my city. I was laying in bed, watching Criminal Minds when the phone on the door to my apartment complex rang. It's a locked door, so visitors have to be let in. So it rang 4 or 5 times, and I wasn't expecting anyone, so I didn't open the door or answer the door phone. I called my mom and told her that I felt a bit scared. I have a history of abusive relationships, and I have been diagnosed with PTSD. My mom told me it was probably just a neighbor who forgot their key or something. But then I heard the elevator come up, so I went to look through the peephole in my door, and I saw a man in dark clothes and a hoodie get out the elevator and walk towards my door. I freaked out and told my mom, whom I still had been on the phone with, She told me to step away from the door, so I went into my bedroom. That was when the man started to pull the door handle and then proceed to pound on the door. I was really freaked out at this point, whispering to my mom what was happening. She told me to go lock myself in the bathroom while she called the police on my sister's phone. The police told my mom to tell me to mute my phone and hang up and call her so that they could call me. I did, and they called and told me to stay locked in the bathroom and be very quiet. At the same time, I could hear the man trying to get in. The woman told me that a police patrol was only a couple minutes away. I was in full panic mode at this point. After what felt like forever, the woman on the phone told me that 2 police officers were outside my door, so I could go out from the bathroom and open the door for them. I was crying and hyperventilating when they entered. One officer stayed with me in the apartment while the others searched the buildings. They never found the man, so here I am today, still freaked out not knowing who the man was or what he wanted. So please, don't come back, whoever you are. So I'm a severely disabled 100-pound, 27-year-old, and I live with my equally as small mom, who is 60 years old. We live downtown in a modern, big Canadian city. Until moving downtown, we never had an issue with break-ins. And we didn't lock our doors while we were awake. We're also night owls, so we usually are up pretty late. I live in a condo complex, and this is the approximate layout of my house. It's important to my story. Remember, all of this happens quickly, and I can't get out of my bed because I can't walk. So it's like 3 a.m. I'm laying in bed, which faces my open bedroom door, half asleep, and my mom is in her room working on her computer with headphones on. I don't hear the front doors open, but I hear a man's footsteps, and then open my eyes to a man at the door shining a flashlight at me. My first thought that it was my stupid brother, because he would do something like this. No part of my brain goes, intruder. So I angrily yell, "Who the fuck is that?" And I swear to God, he says, "I'm Jose," and continues down the hallway towards the kitchen. While I'm just sitting there stunned and confused, my mom, who heard me yell, get up and see this dude in our kitchen. He's got a toque, backpack, and dark clothes. He has his back to her, hiding his face. She goes, "What the fuck are you doing? Get out!" and starts shoving him towards and out the back door while he continues hiding his face. My mom's definitely a tough bitch. After he's out, she locks the door and comes to check on me. We talk about what just happened, and I call the police and tell them a strange dude named Jose just walked through my house. They didn't find him, and I haven't seen Jose since then. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night, and I'll see you next time.